So we are starting. I'm gonna put Richard. I'm gonna get you on to see if any of the other clowns turn up. Right. Um, Not that I refer to you as clowns at all. Um,
No, we're buggers.
no, Pete's a
We're
clown.
buggers. Pizza on
You
a
know what?
bugger?
Pete's a bugger. Yeah, Pete's a bugger. Right. Um, right. And also because I got to keep an eye on my parents, I got to make a phone call roughly about 22 um, to just sort of check on something. So
Good.
I'll leave you have a little bit of a chat. Right.
That's great.
So first things first, is there any news from anybody this week? Pete, have you got any news? You're looking as miserable as ever, so nothing much else to see.
Not really. Are you talking about the ghost story of the lady killed by the Americans up in the woods?
Oh my God.
Oh,
Well,
the white
actually,
lady.
actually, what we're going to do, I'm not talking about that story, but we are going to talk about that story anyway because Pete mentioned it. And now Pete mentioned it. Pete does this deviously, right? He sets up the scene. He puts a little gem in there, right? He moves the story along, right? And he forces me to talk about that story, right? We will do that story, Pete, but it's not what I was going to do. And it's not one of my stories, but I'm going to do it for you to keep you happy. And by the way,
Oh,
Pete, you've walked into this. Don't forget your money this month, otherwise, I won't be able to pay Zoom. I won't be able to pay anything, and I'll be on
uh,
my arse.
me a poor pensioner as well.
I know.
Shut up, you. Right. Richard, anything you want to tell us about this week other than the fact that you need a haircut? But I'm full of insults this week. And the reason why I'm full of insults this week is you guys usually have a go at my appearance. You usually have a go at this. Usually have a go at this. So I'm having a go at everyone today. Right, Richard.
No, nothing for me. But I will comment. You seem to have a receding hairline.
You cheeky
Right.
bastard.
Ah, appears
You,
that.
you cheeky. I tell you what, right?
It's curvaceous. Look, the way it goes up at the sides like that. Lovely.
I hate you all. I
That's
hate
on.
you all.
That's
You're
how mine
getting a very
started.
high
Do
forehead. You're getting a very high
you know what
forehead.
they call them?
Oh,
Raseed.
yeah, yeah.
Raseed.
You know what, guys, right? I've no idea why you're having a go at me, right? Because I'm always nice. I never want to be the center of attention when I'm teaching. I'm fine, right? But
See?
it's just like, right. Okay,
New
okay.
name.
So talking about center of attention, Ruth.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, and
That was your
And
news?
what? I said they call people with receding hairlines Raseed. It's Raseed.
Do they?
Yeah,
do
I've
they?
never heard that.
Raseed.
I've had enough already. Right, let's go. Right, anything else from you, Kate?
Yes, I do
Okay,
have
go on.
something. There's
It's a
I
shame.
have this link through the National Trust at Treager House,
Yeah,
but anybody can go on to the Council for British Archaeology.org
yeah,
and
go on.
sign up with your email, and then you can sign up to attend a free Zoom on March the 7th from 7 o'clock, which is an evening with National Trust archaeologists.
Because they do exist, because there's a National Trust archaeologist post advertised in South Wales at this minute, and I did consider it, and I thought no, but
Oh, I wish
um,
you would,
oh,
so I
and
could follow you around and torment you.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I don't want to do it.
No, but it would be good to have somebody. Let me tell you just a little example, right?
Okay, go,
A
go.
little example for Christmas. It's a wonderful idea. They had a Christmas tree and they had little cardboard luggage tags for anybody who wanted to make a wish, to write their wish and put it on the tree, right? It was full. And I asked
Yeah, yeah.
on Monday, I said, what's happening with the wishes? Are you collecting them and collating them? I said, it must be very interesting. And they were like, oh no, we couldn't do that, blah, blah, blah.
Huh?
They're thinking of just presenting an edited version. These people are not historians, they're wanker propagandists, and I'll probably get sacked for saying that. But you're not a serious historian if you're going to alter the material. You
If
agree?
the thing is, it wouldn't take long for a volunteer to take an image of these things or write them down. It just wouldn't take long.
They're
I
just
mean,
no, but they're too Exactly. But they've already had a look at it, and I think they've thrown away everything they don't like, and or anything that might be embarrassing. But still, what a fabulous social document that would be. People would love to read that 100 years from now. What were people wishing for at Christmas 2023? And some
But
of them are
that
adorable. Of course, lots of them are children, and they're just adorable. My favorite was one I saw one in a little childish hand. It said that they want 1 million ponds. Ponds. Of
oh,
course, they meant
nice,
pounds, but cute. Anyway, there we are.
good,
I'm
good.
I'm done with that. It's a shame because that collection would be maybe next year I'll sneak round and copy them before anybody has a chance to stop me. But don't you think that would be interesting? A couple
I do
hundred
think that would be
wishes.
interesting.
Yeah.
I do. Actually, you know, I'm actually going through reams and reams of paperwork now, and it's just like I've and I'm thinking, right, do I actually need this? And I'm thinking, right, if you need something, just scribble some details from it. But we suffer from this. But if you're organisations that have got time and effort, you can archive these things, and that's a really important issue. There
Well,
is. There is.
I would have done it. There are volunteers who would do
Uh,
that.
uh, Say for example, I've got original let. Well, um, I'm now having to take decisions. Do I keep this or get rid of it? And what's somebody going to do with it in 50 years' time? And I've got original letters from the Flatome Society back in the 1980s. So you talk about 1986, 1987, about going to Flatome and how much it's going to cost and all the rest of it. And I'm thinking, right, yeah, I will keep hold of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But then again, there are other things that for example, I've got a whole file is a burial mound in North Wales at Tom and a Capel, right? And I've got a load of photographs and I've got all the research material, and three or 4 days ago, I binned most of it, and I thought, right, I got to get the stuff out the bin, right? Because I need to reference what that research material was, so I can have an edited version of the file. But the edited version of the file will actually have references to the stuff I've chucked out, so at least there's a record, right? But having to make those decisions.
It's
And
hard.
I've got these original photographs, and I'm thinking, right, I'm actually working with the Royal Commission on Ancient Historical Monuments for my own research stuff. And you know, I've completed a couple of more reports this week. I'm a little bit disappointed because I spent the best part of about 6 or 7 hours on this one report, and I'm thinking these are only supposed to be brief things. But
Now,
that stuff I'm keeping. But the fact of the matter is, um, because that stuff is archived. If it comes to the case that somebody's got a box of my reports, and I can simply say, well, you can burn it all because it's all been archived anyway. But I can't make that decision on stuff that I haven't archived. So we've got to make these decisions continue. But the thing is, I'm in a lucky situation that it is research work, and it's lots of people have got loads of stuff in their attics, so it's simply just going to be burnt and put in a skip. So it's up to you guys to do something about it.
no, I've still got my son's degree work, you know, and I'll never throw it away. It'll go in the box with me.
But Anne, the situation is that
No, your situation is completely different, Carl. You've been running
yeah,
you know, this for a long time, and
yeah.
you know, it's more than 3 years' work. You've
Yeah,
got
it's more. Yeah, exactly. And basically, no. What I was going to say to you, Anne, is that if you have this conversation with Mary, I think she would say the same thing. Look, you've got his core research material that you keep, and the stuff that is like standard books and standard documents and so on. You take reference to all them, and that's the stuff you get rid of because that's replaceable. But his work isn't. That's
yeah.
the point I'm trying to make.
Oh yeah.
First
Yeah,
time I met you was on
of
Flatome
course.
Island.
Sorry?
Exactly.
Yes.
First time Pete met me was on Flatome Island. So
Mm.
so the
Yeah.
So all this stuff is actually quite relevant. So guys, don't forget, in about 14 minutes, I got to make a phone call. So what I want to do is, Anne, anything you want to say? And Anne, you're very late today, and we were all waiting for you, and you've ruined
I'm
my day.
sorry. I am sorry. I fell over on Thursday, and I was
Oh,
down
no.
at the hospital, and mine's got nothing to do with today, but it's just I'm a bit slower, you know. I fell on my face.
Are you
Oh
all
my
right?
God.
Right.
I've been
Oh,
putting
that's what that
makeup.
mark is.
I've been putting makeup on, you know, so I could be
Oh, Anne.
presentable.
Oh
Anne,
no, are you
don't
all red to the scrape, my darling?
Yeah,
I
she's got a
just,
scrape. The
Did
thing
you
is,
trip?
if you leave the scrapes on, guys, can you hang on a minute? My mum's calling in. Speak.
Okay.
your mem. Oh, oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
Anne, what
I had
happened?
I spent 4 hours down the hospital.
Oh no.
I the thing is, my face swelled up, you know, and
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I fell on my cheekbone, you know, on my cheek,
Uh-huh.
really flat, you know, and I wasn't going to go to the hospital because Joe put a compress on it and he said, you know, you should be all right. But my daughter was a bit worried, so she sent me down. And no, we got a lift down the hospital. And yeah, 4 hours later, nothing broken. But I tell you what, it wasn't over that night because I've had bruising, you know, my
Yeah.
Comes out.
shoulders, my back, you know,
Yeah, you didn't realize what you hit.
my chest, you know, but it's all you know, it's not too bad. It's it could have been a lot worse, you know.
But you weren't dizzy? You just tripped over something?
No, I mean my eyesight now isn't very good,
Of
so
course.
I'm doing stupid things because I'm bored, you know. And I
Take more
was
water with it.
carrying carrying a clothes airer from the kitchen into the hallway, and I tripped over a box. Well, I didn't trip over it. I got my foot caught in it as I was trying to put the clothes airer down.
Same kind of thing.
Yeah, and just I'd never, you know, I haven't fallen for a long, long time. You know, I mean, I can't remember falling except when I was a child. But
Right.
my
Anyway,
God.
anyway,
yeah,
back to
better
it.
get
Back
on
to it.
now. Better get
Right.
on now.
Okay. Now, most of these stories I'm going to do today, I'll give you a backstory. Okay. So this is one. This is a very Barry ghost story from Burlington Street, right in Barry.
Wellington Street.
Where's that?
Burlington Street.
It's one of the
Burlington.
streets down by
The
down
docks.
there.
The
Yeah,
docks.
down by the docks.
Sort of East Docksy way?
Off
Isle
Dockview Road.
Bargain's a bit further up.
Off Dockview Road towards Thompson Street, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right.
Thompson Street
Yeah.
kind of way.
Right. Okay. So we've set the scene. So here we go. Much of Barry has changed over the past 130 years or more since the cutting of the first sod for the construction and opening of the Barry Dock, which is a nice little date. So November, we're talking about November 1884, right? So when I was collecting the ghost stories, this was based on my first ghost book, and these books are actually still selling. And the thing is, I had lots of people coming to me off ghost walks and saying, "I got this story, I've got this story," and I'll just give you a bit of a backstory here. When you're writing down a ghost story, you've only got one opportunity. You've got to write it down when people are telling them, because I've got three instances when where I was being told these brilliant ghost stories, and I was in I was in a garage in Landmice, not Landmice, in Landau. Car was being repaired,
Nice.
and this woman come in, and the guy beyond the counter, Alan, he said, "Oh, this woman's got a great ghost story." So so I thought, oh, I'll listen to this, and it was a ghost story about Pentra Myrick off the A48, and I can't remember the story very well, and I really regret not actually putting my tape recorder on straight away. because anyway, there was this ghost story about along Pentre Myrick. There was like a police house, and I didn't even know which building it was at the crossroads. And she was saying that there was a figure of a ghost. She was seeing it when she was a child and whatever. Anyway, so I said, "Oh, I'll take your number down." And she said, "Oh, why is that? Oh, I want to phone you, write this ghost story down." And she said, "Oh, okay." So when I phoned her up, she said, "Oh, I've had second thoughts about telling you the ghost story, and I've got to get permission from my son or whatever." And I never ever wrote down the ghost story, so I was quite annoyed with that. Um, I should have learned because I had a ghost walk at Llan Mice, and there were there were these two women on my Llan Mice ghost walk, and I think it was one of those ghost walks that I didn't have many people turning along. Sometimes I'd have a ghost walk and I'd have about 20 people turning up. Other times I'd have 15, and other times I might just have half a dozen. And each walk is as valuable as whatever walk you do. And these two ladies were on this walk, and I think there was only like 4 people on the walk. So it gave them an opportunity to talk, and they were telling these wonderful stories about Llan Mice, and I thought, oh, that's great. I'm getting paid to tell the story, but somebody else is actually telling the story, so that was great. Anyway, so you're telling these stories, and I thought, oh, these are magic. These will be really good for the book. And at the end, I said, oh, can you can I contact you about the ghost stories? And they said, oh yeah, that's okay. And I phoned them up and they said, you can't use these ghost stories. You don't have permission to use them. And I don't think the people whose families about these ghost stories concerned would want you to actually put them in a book. So I lost the stories again. So it's like,
Oh dear, you don't need their permission. Once you know it, too bad.
But no, Kate, but that is the point, Kate. I should have recorded it there and then. That is the point. That is actually the issue.
They intimidated you.
Yeah, so
they intimidated you.
So I couldn't get those stories. So then I learned if somebody's going to tell me a story, you've got to take it raw. You've got to take it there and then. Anyway, so this is about Burlington Street. There was a guy by the name of James Eddy. He used to work for the Royal Mint. So obviously he used to work with Michelle. He used to be Michelle's manager. He tells us that in the early 2000s that he was living in an old house in Burlington Street, Barry. So obviously that's at least about 120 odd years old, isn't it? With his wife and 4-year-old daughter, Mary Beth. So obviously Mary Beth is going to be about 30 now, isn't she? At around 9 p.m. one evening, while sat in the living room watching TV, James Eddy saw someone moving on the stairs. Well, obviously, James Eddy thought that their daughter, Mary Beth, had gotten out of bed. So James Eddy got up and walked out of the room to take her back to bed. Now, we've all got instances of that. There are children who are just wandering around and they shouldn't be. And we've got to put them in our room or we've got to barricade them in or whatever. So that's what he was thinking. As James Eddy went through the door, he turned and looked up the stairs. James saw a small girl in an old style type of dress. So he's obviously quite curious of that. So he had only right, and then I'll reword this. He then, a few seconds later, saw the girl disappear. James Eddy did notice that the girl was about 12 years old, for his daughter being 4 years old. So how does that add up? So James Eddy and his wife caught glimpses of someone moving out of the corner of their eyes. And on several occasions in the 10 years they lived in the house. And you're just thinking, again, he investigated whether it was his daughter, and his daughter was fast asleep in bed. By taking note of those figures moving out of the corner of our eyes, we are always prone to seeing something special one time. Keep watching. So it's always that idea of keeping an eye out. Now, sometimes I'm given ghost stories and I publish them, and and you get people contacting you, and it's even better then because they add to the ghost story. And there was a ghost story I was writing. I put something out in a newspaper, and somebody contacted me and gave me the story, and then somebody bought the book and they said, "Oh, we've seen that as well." We'll talk about this now. It's a story from Peterston Super Ely, so that's nicely within our Barron district. And the story about Peterston Super Ely is the Woodwoes beast of Peterston Super Ely. Now, if anyone knows what a Woodwoes is, I've mentioned what a Woodwoes is before. It's a man who dresses up in a bear costume, and I got to do this with a straight face, with his tackle hanging out, running through woods, scaring people. Right?
Oh.
That's what a Woodwoes is. But you can get a female Woodwoes, and I don't need to describe what a female Woodwoes would look like. But this is I've added the word Woodwoes to the story of Peterston Super Ely. And interestingly enough, when you think about the story about James Eddy, and you think about the 12-year-old girl, you're thinking, was that a girl that used to live in the house, and did she die at 12 years old? Right? Now that would be an interesting thing, or thereabouts. Now, when we go back to the Woodwoes of Peterston Super Ely, it describes as follows. And what I'm going to do after this story, right? I'm going to find out if we've got any other ghost stories, and if not, what we're going to do, we're going to tell you the story about about Sully, right? Which Anne didn't hear it. Anyway, Peterston Super Ely is one of those villages in the Vale of Glamorgan that you just stumble. Let's start again. I'm reading off. I should be reading what the book says. That you just don't stumble across by accident. You have to go and find it. And it's had its fair share of interesting sites, such as a castle, church, 2 pubs serving food, the 3 horseshoes, and the Sportsman's Rest. So this is a great story from somebody called Alex Morgan. And Alex Morgan was somebody who actually used to come on my ghost walks, which is great. So she'd listened to lots of the stories on my ghost walks, and Alex, a lady, used to come on my walks. So one night, Alex was driving back from Cardiff with her friend, driving through Peterston Super Ely, and they were chatting in full conversation. Now, then they both saw something in the center of the road, a human shape covered in hair from top to bottom. Now, I don't know if you're like me, when you're driving along, you see something in the road and you stop, or you just are curious and you go slow. Well, I do, right? But
Uh-oh.
Gone silent.
Gone silent.
No.
No.
Silence.
There he is.
No.
can you just talk amongst yourselves?
There you go.
It's about my parents again. You talk amongst yourselves. What if you tell a story now, Anne?
I haven't got
Oh,
any
it's gotta be
ghost
good.
stories. I haven't got any ghost stories. I don't believe in ghosts because I've never seen one.
Oh, yeah.
Have you?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, well, tell us a ghost story. Tell us what
Oh,
you've
I've
seen.
told them too many times. I've had a man walk across my room. He
Oh,
came in my bedroom door.
oh
He
my
was
God.
dressed as a waiter.
Oh,
He had some sheets in his hand that were starched white, and he
oh,
walked out the window. He just went shh and walked out the window.
Weird.
was it an old?
No, brand new
Oh God.
place.
Hmm. The only sort of thing apparition really I've seen is and of course it was because I was asleep. I woke
Yeah,
up and there was this apparition of, I thought it was William Henry Morgan, the pirate, because
yeah.
our house lives, well, it is, it used to be within a couple of miles, of
Oh,
Tredegar House. And I used to think, yeah, and it was a pirate, and he was sort of sort of over me in the bed, you know, I'm just
Yeah.
hanging
Oh,
over me, you know,
well,
thank
that
you.
Henry Morgan wasn't one of those Morgans.
That was wishful thinking.
It's likely that he came from Abergavenny.
Oh, right, okay.
But there were members of the Tredegar Morgans that liked to say, do you know what I
Oh,
mean?
right,
They liked the
yeah,
romance of being,
yeah.
descended from a pirate and all of that.
Oh, right.
But no,
No, I
but there
just
was a pirate. They did have a pirate. His name was Miles Morgan,
Miles.
and he lived in the old stone house before they built the great big brick place.
Oh,
He'd inherited because he was the natural grandson of a Morgan. He
oh,
probably never expected to have anything, but
no,
he was not well. We don't know what it was, but he did
no,
not have good health.
no.
And he got in trouble with debts. Now, we don't know if that's because it was attached to the house or what exactly.
Oh,
But to try and get out of his misery, because he was in serious trouble, he joined in an expedition with, get this, Sir Walter Raleigh and
oh,
3 others to try and found a colony in America.
Wow.
wow.
And this is 1578, so that's a little bit on the early side for that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So he goes with whatever funds he does have. He gets himself his ship and he names it the Red Lion of Newport, spelled Lyon,
Oh,
and joins with the other parties. But I don't know anything about sailing, okay? Nothing.
No.
But even
No.
I wouldn't dream of setting off for Massachusetts from here in November, which is what they did.
No.
Which is what
No.
they did. They were beaten back by storms, and the other 4 ships came back,
No.
but not Miles.
No.
Oh, and I've got to add his ship, he gave it a motto,
No.
and the motto was now or never. So when they came
Oh,
back, I'm sure he was thinking, oh shit, what am I going back to? And so he decided to have a stab at pirating because there was really nothing else for it. And I can never remember if he stole French goods from a Spanish ship or Spanish goods from a French ship. But anyway, he got himself in trouble with everyone. And he was declared an outlaw, but he was never seen again, nor the ship, lost at sea.
right.
Because
So
the question,
I was going to say so the Morgans did have a pirate, but not
Yeah.
Henry Morgan.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's something else funny because there's a portrait hanging in the Brown Room, and it's alleged to be Henry Morgan, but he looks about 12. And I
Oh,
just don't think it could possibly be him. Do you know? It's possible a Henry Morgan from another family, but not the pirate.
yes.
Anyway, there we are. So that's the end of that story.
Oh,
really
yeah.
appreciate that. I got a crack on myself, but Anne, did the guy
Oh,
in your
yay, Pirate Land.
did the guy in your ghost have a hat like this, like a proper tricorn hat, or did he have one of these wussy hats?
Oh, I think it was a tricorn hat.
Oh, right, okay,
It
fair
was
Cool.
enough.
a pirate hat, you know, but
Fair,
I don't know if you know he had a hat.
fair enough. Anyway, thanks for that, guys. Everything's fine. My parents are now on the way to but yeah, don't ask. I had to the story is I had to get intervention for a doctor's appointment for my dad, blah blah blah, and we've had to do it through the health secretary and Alan Carnes. So it's all sorted out. Right, anyway, so here we
Yay.
crack on. So anyway, the story, human shape in the middle of the road. Now, I thought that was a seeing this sort of human shape covered in hair from top to bottom in the middle of the road, right? You would think that they would stop the car, right? But the story carries on. You would think that they would have at least stopped or had some kind of panic attack. But they carried on talking and didn't stop driving and didn't stop driving. And I'm thinking, if you see somebody lying in the middle of the road, right, you should at least stop. And they didn't.
Oh,
And then it
lying in
goes
the
on to
road. I thought you meant standing in the road.
no,
Ooh.
a human shape covered in hair from top to bottom in the center of the road. Right?
They drove through it.
Well, I don't know what they did. Listen to the story.
All right,
Then
all right,
about a
go
minute
on, go
later,
on.
Then
Carry
about a
on.
minute later, they both said to each other, "Did you just see that? It was bigger than a dog."
Oh, right.
And I'm thinking, yeah,
Oh,
they believed it to be a dog, but with the doubt settling in, there was a possibility it may have been something else, a lot more terrifying, as it had a humanoid shape. Surely, if there's a dog lying in the middle of the road, you would have stopped, but they didn't. They discussed about turning the car around to inspect, but didn't.
oh,
Why
I
was
drove
this?
past it.
And why was this? Was it because it dawned on them that the creature in the road was something really abhorrent against the laws of nature? They believe there was obviously something there. So Alex Morgan goes on to say, she tells us that the thing was lying in a fetal position covered in masses of hair on the road. Both didn't acknowledge the hideous creature until they were driving away from the scene. The fact is, this is a familiar response. And the reason why I'm saying it's a familiar response is that this does happen to me. I can be walking along, right? And I've just trodden on something, right? And my mind says, I don't know if I've got the speaker on, but I'm doubling up. My mind can turn around and say, actually, you've just trodden on something, right? And it's too late. And it looks like that's happened to them. And it goes
Also,
on to say,
sometimes, especially if you're chatting, you
yeah,
don't realize
exactly.
what you've seen until after. Then afterwards, like, did you see
Yeah,
what I saw? Sort of thing.
it processes after. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So, and it goes on to say later on they discussed the occurrence with a friend. The friend exclaimed this was the werewolf of Peterston super Ely. There had
Ooh,
been several sightings.
no way.
Yes, way. Should it be said that something this strange in the road should have been reported to the police, or would ringing the police be placing you in for some kind of ridicule? Moreover, should Alex and her friend have turned the car around to inspect, what would the reaction have been of the beast of Peterston Super Ely if they had faced it down? Now, actually, that's an interesting story because I have actually, I actually can do one more story before we do the Sully one. Actually, from here, you know, it's I often when I'm driving along, I do actually stop the car or I do actually turn around, um, and and my mind is obviously always blocking out the fact that I on the average journey I see dead barn owls, freshly killed. I see people deliberately killing animals on the road, um, and you
Terrible.
know, and it's just appalling how people treat animals. And I'm hopefully one day, and I'm going to say this as it is. I'm hopefully a badger's going to be walking across the road one day, and it's going to kill a human being, and they're going to take the car off the road, and people are going to start to think.
Oh, it's
Um,
probably happened.
Yeah.
and then this is what I'm thinking. You know, I see big animals being killed on the road, right? And I'm thinking, it must be a case that some of these animals must kill the drivers, and and I hope it does occasionally. Right. Right. So what I'm going to do is a story that's at a place now that no longer exists, but it did exist when I actually recorded the story. Right, so we're going to go to page number 12, and it's about the boys' village. I do believe that they demolished the boys' village.
Yeah.
And actually, I've got two stories from the boys' village in here, right? And what we're going to do, we're going to do the first story from the boys' village, and then what we're going to do, we're going to tell you a story that's not in the book, and then we're going to go back to the book. So here we go. It's from the boys' village. It's called A Ghost at the Boys' Village. Now, this is a really interesting story because it's both stories that I'm going to tell you about the Boys' Village are from a man and wife. Both of them have got links with the Boys' Village. So here we go. The land of the Boys' Village, to be precise, West Aberthaw. It says will be developed shortly. It is being developed. And all but one of the buildings, the war memorial, will be removed. But before the construction of the boys' village in the 1920s, this was the haunt of smugglers and traders throughout the ages. This is an amazing story that needs to be told. This was originally a story verbally told by Abby to us and written down by her friend Emma. So this was one of those that, yeah, I did actually record them as they were talking, and it was great. So Abby and her dad went to view one of the buildings at the St. Athan Boys Village with a view to doing it up. Now, at that point, they actually had these really nice buildings in red brick. Well, when I say really nice, they were passable, right? And they were up for sale. The rest of the buildings, they weren't, but these buildings were. I've seen a photograph of them. You used to be able to see photographs of them on the internet. Nice red brick building. Well, they would have been nice done up. Anyway, there had been a small number of red brick houses for sale, and strangely enough, nobody ever went to buy any of them. When they got there, the door was open, so they went inside to have a nose round. That's a nose around, but nose round, like a parochial there. It's human nature to be nosy. Whilst having a look, a man appeared. It seemed from nowhere. Odd that they both thought they didn't hear a car pull up. The man just suddenly seemed to appear behind them, and they didn't hear anyone approaching. So they're in the house. What's the first thing you're going to think? You've gone for a viewing. This has got to be the estate agent. So again, back to what me and Kate were saying, you're assuming stuff. Your mind's already building a picture of whoever it is, right? I know it's another take, but there we go. And then they both commented, "Hey ho!" They both thought, "Let's get on with the viewing." The man had turned up. There he was. He was there, and this is what's meant to be happening. He had a blue suit on, and he started showing them round and telling them about the building. Then, when it was time to go upstairs, he said he was going to go ahead and he'd be back for them in a minute. So they're waiting downstairs, really excited. They waited for ages and ages, and he didn't come back down. So they went upstairs to investigate. What was taking so long? Big question mark. They started looking in each of the rooms, but they couldn't see the man. So they'd followed him upstairs, and it was, that's what you would do. You'd think, I don't know, where's the guy gone? He's taking long. We haven't got all day. So they were in the last room, and there was no sign of the man, but he suddenly appeared behind them again. They didn't hear him approach yet again. They carried on the viewing and went back downstairs. They walked outside, and the man said he just had to lock up and he'd be out in a minute. So there we go. Everything's fine. They waited again for a while. The man didn't come out the house, and a car drove up, and you know exactly what's coming. An estate agent got out and said he was there to do the viewing, which confused Abby and her dad. The estate agent said he had the only set of keys, and when they tried the door, it was locked. They didn't want the place after that and left. What an amazing story.
Wow.
The moral: get out to the boys' village and its surrounding houses before they are demolished. And actually, I can remember that I don't know why it's not in here, but I can remember there was the recording, which is actually online. Actually, there's something else in the recording. It says that when they went into the house, there was children's toys in it, and something along the lines that. But when they looked into the windows, after telling the assistant that they'd, you know, that they thought they'd already had a look around it. There were no children's toys inside, which I think is even spookier. I don't know why that didn't actually get into the book, but that's actually online. So what I'm going to do now is this is a story that Peter, it's all about you. It is. We couldn't do that. We couldn't do this without Peter, right? And I really appreciate everybody's. You know, I know I've had to deal with my parents today, and I appreciate you putting up with that. And I will say, don't forget, the money's for next month for this class. £25 is now due for next month, and obviously Richard's got to do his shekels for next month for the big grown-up classes in the evening. And you've got to do your grown-up classes for the evening, Anne. And so have you got to do your big grown-up classes for the evening, Peter, which are £50. And look at Peter, it's a lot of money, £75. But Pete, what would you do without me each month? You know, you would be all alone, right? And I tell you what, if you didn't carry on with these classes, Peter, right, Sandra would haunt you. She bloody
I've
well.
already paid.
Anyway, it's Sandra's fault in lots of ways that Pete have continued with these classes. So when I think this was I think I'm right or wrong, Peter came on a ghost walk with me. Or was it whatever walk he came on, or was it another walk? I told a story about Sully. It was like a Sully ghost walk type thing. We didn't have many stories from Sully, but we had one. And it took place in the woods, which are on Hayes Road. Well, if you drive down Hayes Road from the roundabout, which is at Sully, right, go in in a westerly direction towards Barry Docks. That's right, never eat shredded wheat, in a westerly direction towards Barry Docks. You keep going down, and then suddenly some woodland in view on the left appears, not on the right, because that's the chemical work. On the left, there's woodland there, right? And this is a really sad story, and I haven't published this story at all because it's not one of my stories, but I was told it, right? So I could tell on a ghost walk in the war, probably about 1944, just before the D-Day landings. On the 6th of June. They're based in Barry. There were black American servicemen, right? And they were quite a sight in Barry because they were black American. Now Barry, you could see Somali sailors and various other people of different skin color in Barry. It was nothing new, but these were different. You know, chunky black American servicemen. They were really new, really attractive gents, and you know, they got on well with the local populace. And you know where this story's going. One American serviceman got on well with a local Barry lady, right? And they had a relationship, and everything was fine. Everything was fine with this relationship, but it wasn't fine because the other American servicemen who didn't like the black soldiers that fought with them, right? You know, didn't like the fact that these black guys were having relationships with Barry women, right? So they set him up in a very nasty way, and I'm going to tell you it as it is, right? So this girl he was dating was actually raped by one of the white guys, and this woman was in such a state, right? The finger was pointed at the guy she was dating, at the black guy she was dating. And there was a great controversy with this. It was very controversial. And what happened next was the tragedy. The black guy was lynched by the white serviceman on the base, and they hung him in the wood.
Oh.
They actually hung this guy in the wood. And the biggest tragedy is that they did actually find out that the black guy hadn't raped this woman at all. In fact, he had not had sex with her. He was a real gent, right? As most of these guys were. They were real gents. And
Different time.
what happened was that they did actually find out that he was innocent, and they did actually find out the person who did actually rape this woman, but he wasn't really punished because he went out to he went on the 6th of June over to France, and obviously the Germans had their revenge with the guy, and I hope he had a brutal, horrible death. And he was butchered to death by the Nazis because that's what he deserved. So that was the story, and there was. I do believe if Richard did a little bit of research, I do believe there was something in the newspapers at the time, but I'm not really sure. But that story's come to me from a few sources, and it's quite tragic actually, that story. And actually one little thing before I crack on, and I tell you two other little stories today, is that when it was the year was about 1991, and there was I used to give talks for local societies in Barry, like Peter, and I used to give talks to this one group in Barry on a regular basis. They used to phone me up and said, one of our speakers has dropped out. Can you come along and give a talk to us on the Vikings? So there I am, right? I'm still in school. I'm looking in a book. I'm doing some research on the Vikings, and I'd end up putting a talk together for these people. Anyway, this one woman from the audience, she came to me and she said, it was I think it was like a Barry MS group or something, right? This woman came up to me and she said, "Oh, this I think this was the year later in 1992. She said, "Oh, my son is coming over from the States, right? He's really interested in history and archaeology. Can you talk to him and take him around?" And the weirdest thing was, he was half Native American, right? His dad was an American serviceman who was a Native American, right? And I thought that was great. This guy called Barry Blusty, really well built guy, really attractive, but with black hair, nice black eyebrows, typical with a so I knew that those stories about American servicemen, the genuine American servicemen, that they were gentlemen, right? And she went and lived with a husband in the States after the war, but she ended up coming back here and so on. So anyway, so what I want us to do two more stories from the book, okay? And I'm just going to. There's lots and lots of stories in here. I think we've got 40 stories in here, and I should really do the fate of Billy Parrock, which is at Charleston, but I do actually want to do the other one. The boys' village, and I'm just trying to get it right a minute. Where is it? A minute, hang on. What's happened? Was it meant to arrive? I think I might do. We do have a few others from St. Athan. I might actually just pick this one. Actually, this is page 142. I hadn't planned to do this one, right? And this is a rather odd one. This is also from James Eddy. It's not about the boys' village. It's things that happen, an item that was meant to arrive. And here we go. This is a very odd one, very strange. This story takes place at RAF St. Athan, but the nature of the subject matter is intriguing. Like James Eddy, I used to collect cigarette collector cards. They were everywhere when I was a child and did well out of the items that I collected for them, although I never smoked. Unfortunately, encouraging people to smoke is not the done thing these days, hence no bonus cards. Actually, people used to get these Christmas presents that I used to get free from collecting. It used to thousands of the things, right? Really thousands. And one day I think I collected a load and I didn't get anything back, so I learnt my lesson. A final story by James Eddy in this edition. The other thing that happened to James Eddy in the house at RAF St. Athan, because we got two stories at the house in RAF St. Athan. This is the second one. Was while he used to smoke and collect cards from the cigarette packets. The cards he collected would be to send them off to get things like T-shirts and lighters, all with the cigarette company's name on them. He had collected for ages to get a lighter, and when he had collected enough cards, he sent off for it. About 2 weeks later, sadly, he got an envelope back with all his cards in, saying that they no longer did the collector thing. I tell you what, I think that happened to me.
Yeah.
James, as any would be, was really angry about it for most of the day. Then night arrived. While he was sat in the living room, he heard a loud crash from the back garden. So he went out to see what it was, just outside the patio doors. For on the patio table was sat a lighter stood upright. And when he picked it up, he saw it was the exact lighter that he had been saving for all along. James had total faith. You know, he was total faith that collecting these cards, he would end up with a lighter. And that was the end result, even though he had cards back. So what we're going to do, I'm going to, hang on, what time are we? Okay, we got time for a couple more stories, and then we'll call it a day, right? So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a story that directly relates to all of us, right? And it's a story to do with Rosamond. Now, I have been told by Rosamond, if we start the Barry classes live again, she'll come along again. So when you see Rosamond next, you can remind her of this story. It's on page 40. We'll do one other after that. And I don't. Have any of you ever been in the Duke of Wellington in Cowbridge? Peter, have you ever been in there for a meal? Duke of Wellington on the corner.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, Pete. Pete, you're muted.
No, I'm not.
Have you been in there?
Yes, I've been in there. Not to eat. Have I been
Have you
to
been
a
in that,
function
Pete?
there?
Yes, I have been to the Duke of Wellington, yes.
What do you feel when you go in there?
Well, it's a strange pub, it is. Yeah, it has got a strange sensation.
It's old, isn't it? It feels old.
Yes,
Mm.
yes, it's got. And what about you, Kate? What have you felt when you've been in there?
Just the same thing that seems very authentically old.
Hmm.
In fact, I fear going in case they've over renovated it. I hate that when that happens.
Oh, that's true. And Peter, finally, did you ever hear the story about the lady in the pub?
No.
Oh,
Well, there's a story about a grey lady, right? And I'll give you a bit of the backstory. When I was doing my ghost walks in Cowbridge, it would be the place that we'd stop at the end with a load of rowdy people outside, and I'd say, "Look, the grey lady. You know, the grey lady. They occasionally when you go in there, you can see a grey lady." But when Rosamond come on a walk one day, um, she spouted up. Rosamond is the type of lady, when she wants to talk, she talks. Right, when she doesn't want to talk, she's as quiet as a mouse, so she don't say anything. Right, unlike Anne. So she told us this story, and I thought, right, I thought, right, Rosamond. I know I'm going to see Rosamond again, so I didn't record her story down. I said, right, Rosamond, because I was teaching her privately. We would do the history of the Second World War, and I'd say, right, I want you to tell me one more of your ghost stories, and she would. So here we go. The Duke of Wellington was once called the Black Horse, amongst other names.
Oh.
Built facing the original Roman street, it stands to reason that the well to the rear of the premises is of Roman period. Rosamond went with her daughter and grandson Stav to the Duke of Wellington on a February afternoon for lunch in 2010. It was a stopover for a daughter who was actually buying a wedding dress. We all sat at a table near the well to the rear of the establishment. We chatted and had our lunch. We were invited to look at the hall to the rear of the Duke to see if this could have been appropriate for a wedding reception. That should have been the end of the story. It's not. So eventually Charlotte and Stav put on their coats, getting ready to leave, and Rosamond looked up. She was startled to see a lady stood at the table by the well, dressed in all grey, completely grey. So she said to Charlotte and Stav, "Did you see that lady?" And they said no, and carried on out of the establishment.
Oh.
Then, as Rosamond was leaving, she read the story of the grey lady on the wall, but nobody had told her about the grey lady before the visitation. Talking to the man at the bar with black hair and dark eyes, very helpful, asked about the history of the place. They were busy, so she couldn't find out more. Totally unexpected, it was the afternoon, having lunch. It was the normal mundane lunch, but with the excitement of purchasing the dress. The Duke of Wellington is full of history, an atmospheric place to have lunch with the well. That may have been originally in the courtyard outside in the Roman and medieval periods. Now it is inside, all lit up. Sit by the well with your mates or family. How lonely would the grey lady have been in lockdown when the Duke was closed? Did she visit Rosamond due to the positive energies of buying the wedding dress at family occasion? Did the grey lady trouble Rosamond, although a little startled in a positive way, not expecting a lady at the table? This was a quiet, slight standing woman, ephemeral, slim, in long silvery spider bluey grey colour old-fashioned clothes, and that's a good description. The loose, wispy, fitting type of affair of clothes allowed our grey lady to almost glide around, it says, glide around. The heading covering is of a medieval maid, Marian-like. She was also shorter than Rosamond, at around 4'9" and definitely a woman and not a girl. The grey lady gave the appearance of being a proud lady that was very clever, not pompous, just all-knowing. Rosamond tells us that the moment was so fast, the grey lady didn't linger. Rosamond wanted to say hello, and she would have, but the lady was gone, an observing ghost for a nice occasion with a family having lunch. And do you know what, right? What I am going to do, we're going to do a bit of archaeology at the end, but there's a ghost story associated with it. And I wasn't going to do this one, but I thought, let's do it because it's linked to Rosamond, who actually lives in Dinas Powys. So I'm gonna quickly find this story in here, right?
In Harbour House, where I lived as a boy,
Go for it.
my room was known as the ghost room.
Oh,
Oh,
It was
right.
definitely, it looked out over the coal yard. And in that room, it was never seen a ghost, but people felt a presence. And it was felt by several people other than myself. They felt a presence in the room, as if there was someone else there, but you couldn't see anyone. You just had this sensation of cold nest where this person you thought was another person. And several people had the same sensation in that room and was known as the ghost room.
Ooh.
Do you know what? Do you know what? That is really odd because that you say that, because because you do get lots of places that have ghost rooms. And talking as my parents were interfering with our functioning today, I've got to mention my dad. He was working in Ireland this one day, and this was years ago. He told me that he was working in Ireland this one day, and he was working. He had this back room digs in this place in Ireland, and it was a small compacted room, and he said that he woke up in the middle of the night one day. He couldn't get up because there was something weighing heavily on his chest, keep him in down. He was panicking that he couldn't get out of bed. There was almost a presence on his chest, right? And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder if that's called the ghost room. However, I've got to do a ghost story that's got a bit of archaeology in it. And now Rosamond didn't know anything about what I'm going to right. What I'm going to tell you first, Rosamond didn't know, and then she told me this story before she knew what I'm about to tell you, right? And it all comes together. So it's at Landock. Now, Landock once held the remains of one of few known Roman villas in the whole of South Glamorgan, but now since destroyed, demolished for a housing development. In the church graveyards still is the Urbic cross, re-erected out of 4 separate monuments, with the base carved stone from the Roman villa that once was. And opposite to the church, there's something known as Corinthian Close. And Corinthian Close is directly built on the site of the Roman villa. And I'm actually, at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, did they actually completely destroy the villa? Could there be something still there underneath the surface? This is a story from Rosamond. What I've just told you, Rosamond didn't know, but she came into the studio one day, and I think she was with her grandson Stav, and she told me the story. And then I said, "Oh, listen to this. Look at this." In the early 1990s, Rosamond would visit her friend with her son, and she would have a daughter with her called Charlotte. She would visit the flats at Corinthian Close, near to St. Docdoy's Church, Landock, the site of the Roman villa. They had not been standing long. Rosamond and her friend would be sat there chatting over a cup of tea. I tell you what, Rosamond is definitely a tea drinker. It would always be a Sunday to see her friend there every week. Then suddenly a little girl would appear playing with a ball running through the room. Every time we would just say, "There goes the little girl again." Rosamond, being a believer in ghosts, never thought anything much of it. That's what she would see. Until years later, then Rosamond found out about the extensive Roman period burial site at the rear of St. Docdoy's Church. But not about the Roman villa, which was underneath Corinthian Close. The girl wore some kind of dress and was around the age of 3 or 4 years old. A happy child, a playful child. Both the adults and maybe their 2 children would be aware of her presence and let her play. And I think that's a really interesting story. And I've actually published this in the book. Corinthian Close, as point of fact, was constructed on the Roman villa site, excavated by the Glamorgan Gwent Archaeological Trust in the late 1970s. It was the politics of the day who allowed the site to be destroyed, and not the developer. Could it have been a Roman ghost of a happy girl who may have died tragically from an accident? As few buildings had been built at the site between the late Roman period 4 50s and the late 1500s. I have no other suggestion who the ghost of the girl actually may be, but Roman is a useful suggestion. Rosamond believes that the ghost was a benevolent spirit and just wanted to play with their children. Now that is a lovely story, and was the last one I edited to be in this book. And I thought that was a really nice story indeed.
Yeah.
And it was just
Well, you do want to see.
it just goes to show, it really goes to show that you can see things and not know any of the facts, and then the things that you see when you know the facts link in, and it's interesting that the little girl was seen playing, and yeah, the little girl may actually be buried or was buried in the St. Doctor's Church graveyard, but we will never know. Right, so without further ado, that's my talking done for today, and I'm just going to find out if we've got any questions. Richard.
No, nothing
Don't
for
worry,
me.
we'll let you wake up, Richard.
Okay.
Peter, any questions?
No, nothing
Not
for me.
really. Just that there is strange things happen. It's just like this
Room.
Yeah.
Oh, what's
this
that?
crystal,
Pendulum.
and
Oh,
it
yeah.
reacts to different things. It
Yeah.
reacts to questions. It reacts to a diagram on a piece of paper. Whether it goes back and forth or round and round, it reacts in the same way exactly every time. Why? What does it? What
Yeah.
causes it to react?
Mm.
It is just a piece of crystal.
Mm.
So I think
It's somehow
strange
it's
things
caught hold
still
of a
happen.
Hang on,
vibration.
hang on, Kate. Let Peter speak.
Sorry,
Carry on, Peter.
I thought he'd finished.
No, he hadn't. Go on, carry on, Peter.
I say it always reacts, and when you ask a question, it will answer yes or no,
Oh,
and so it is affected by things other than us, other than people.
yeah.
And so, what causes it to react? So, if something causes it to react, and that in itself is spiritual, if you like.
It's energy, isn't it? Energy.
And actually, on both of you, there was somebody. I'm not one for conspiracy theories or anything anymore or anything like that. But somebody, I had this video on this morning that I was half awake. I pressed on my phone to look if there's any messages, and I watched this video. And this woman was saying that if you have a group of people stand around a glass of water in the middle of the room and thought positive thoughts into the glass of water, then the glass of water, its electrons and protons and so on, will be more charged, and they will be more active, and the water will be positive. And before I said that was nonsense, the woman turned around to say, well, 50% of the human body is made up of water, and we have these positive thoughts, we have these negative thoughts. And I thought, actually, she's got a point there, right? So why can't the glass of water be positively charged? Exactly what Peter was just talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, okay then, anything from you, Anne? And strangely enough, we've had a few people watching online, but nobody's commented, which is fine. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and send us a load of money so we can send Anne to the eye hospital to get her glasses sorted out so she doesn't have a new accident. Right, Anne, anything you want to say?
No, it is a fascinating subject, and you know, there are people who are really, really interested in it and know a lot. I've come across a few people, you know, even Sean. Remember Sean? Sean was
Shani, yeah.
she did reflexology, and she was into crystals and all that, you know. And I think, you know, these all sorts of things work, you know, they do work, like reflexology, and because that that's about changing the energies and the fluids in your body and that, you know, by massaging your feet, you know. And but I've never seen a ghost apart from that pirate. But I might see more now I've got macular degeneration, because you can see better out your side of your eye than the front. So I might, you know, we never know.
Very, very interesting then, Anne. Very, very interesting.
Someone might contact me.
Exactly. You never know.
You know.
Right. So let's find out if there's anything from Richard.
You just asked me, I think.
No, I didn't. We were trying to get you awake. You'd fallen asleep.
Hey?
Yeah, you'd gone to sleep. You'd gone to sleep. Okay,
Oh,
then,
got
Richard.
me.
Anyway, thanks for that. Right, so we'll go. Kate, anything you want to say?
Oh, certainly things are unseen. I
Mm.
think yeah. I've done the I Ching for many, many, many years.
Oh,
And I'm a Reiki practitioner
oh,
and a
yeah.
transcendental meditator. So, you
Mm.
know,
Oh,
you
right.
can't see and touch and smell everything.
Yeah.
It's like the vast spectrum of the electromagnetic universe, if you like.
Yeah.
There are colors and things we can't hear, things they're just
Mm.
out of our
Range.
cognizance.
Yeah.
But that's, it makes life interesting, doesn't it? I've not seen any ghosts, but I heard a lady crying at Lancashire, and I've sensed people in the Pitti Palace in Florence. If you go late in the day some places, you can have it all to yourself, which I sort of did. And as I'm coming down this staircase, big stone staircase, back down to the ground floor, so I could sense all these children running past me down to the bottom to climb up on a window ledge on the other side. It was so distinct and so real. I couldn't see or hear exactly, but amazing. I believe it.
Yeah.
I've seen ghosts, as you know, and that's what I've written about in my books. Before we go on to Ruth, it's like tell you something. There used to be this lady who used to come to our classes, and you remember her, Anne. She lived in Porthcawl, and she come along. She said one day that she was on the train coming back from up north, and there was a guy on the train that she recognised on the TV a couple of years later. It was Fred West, right?
Oh
And
my God.
she said to us all that this guy, she said she'd never felt anything like it, that she felt a massive evil from this guy. And he was very negative, and he was just, there was a overpowering evil. And it stayed with her until she turned on the television one day and saw the guy's face, and she said, "That's the guy I saw on the train, and I knew all along that he was that type of person." And where that comes from, I don't know, but there was obviously, we get these stories a lot. And finally, from me, actually, before we go on to Ruth and we'll close, um, um, I get a little bit of empathic thoughts when I'm going down the road, and you get these senses about people, and you think that person's done some really bad things, or that person's a really good person, and sometimes you can get them wrong. I was on a train one day, and there was this who looked like a thug, this guy who just I didn't talk to, right, and then suddenly started talking to me, and he was not the person who I thought he was. And he had a dog collar on. He was a priest. And I thought, how wrong can I be? Anyway, finally, Ruth.
I mean, my latest ghosty one was when we went on the walk and I was being pushed down on my shoulder.
Oh, in
You went on the
Llandaff.
Llandaff Ghost Walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Well, we're walking along and I could feel ghosts. And I could feel ghosts, and there was one of the guides behind me. And all of a sudden, someone put their hand on my shoulder and was pushing me down, pulling me down. And he put the ghost meter on my shoulder, and it was going haywire.
Oh,
I could
Oh,
feel I could feel the presence of someone pushing me down on my left shoulder.
oh,
Right down, not just,
yeah.
put me on the
Oh,
floor.
oh. Well,
But
oh,
maybe someone pushed me over.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking now.
no,
oh,
and I fall over as well, darling.
You?
and
Yeah, because of my
and
strokes.
Oh,
Well, it
right.
take
right.
more water
Well,
with it.
well, I'm hoping it wasn't anything like that because I have been having like palpitations, but
Yeah.
Have loads of aspirins. I
yeah,
just
You
carry
need to
aspirins
get
with
that
me.
sorted.
Yeah.
yeah.
You
I-
do.
And
I know why mine is. I've had 4 mini strokes and I've got no spatial awareness.
right.
Oh,
Yeah, I understand. I
yeah.
understand.
I'm just getting a bit sort of weird at the yeah.
Don't
I'm
worry about it.
And
It's normal.
Anne, I was just about to say
what's
that you've
weird?
always been weird, Anne. You wouldn't be Anne if you weren't weird.
I'm
Finally, I'll just like say,
sensory challenged because
Darling.
I'm going deaf and I'm going blind.
Yes. Oh, you poor thing.
you
Yes.
poor thing. And finally, on one last note, we had this ghost walk this one time in Lancashire, and we'd got to the end of the ghost walk, and I can remember looking at this thing in front of me. It was like a drain, right? And I remember saying to everybody, whatever you do, don't trip on that drain, right? And everyone avoided the drain, right? Until just gone past this guy tumbled and flipped onto the ground. And he turned around and said, "Did somebody just push me?" And it was just like, it was so weird. And he had to go to hospital and everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh.
these things happen.
They
Um,
do.
right. Okay then. Anyone else want to say anything else before we finish today?
Oh,
No,
No,
Anything,
this
Peter,
is
Richard,
No,
Chris,
lovely
or
fun. Thank
Bruce?
you.
Lovely fun. It was
Yes.
good. We'll be back to the normal stuff next week. And we'll call it down. Don't forget, I'll see most of you tonight anyway. But if not, I'm going to say goodbye. Goodbye. Then thanks for joining us. Don't forget your monies as well this week. I had to put that in there just to wind Peter up.
only if you comb your hair.
He's looking more like his son.
Put something on it to hold it down.
He's looking more like
like the mad professor.
I'll do the class like this tonight, okay? I'll do what my mum used to do. She just spit on her hand. She used to go like this.
God.
you look a spitting image of your son. Owen.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to look
Yeah.
like my son. Exactly.
Yeah.
Look at this, right? I could look like Mr. Gumby. Mr. Gumby. There you go. Oh, Pete hates this when you put things on your head, right? But hey, Pete really hates this. Go on, Pete, say it. Go on, say it.
Must say you look like a working man.
I knew it. I knew
A
it. I knew
working
it.
man am I. I can't
Oh my
remember
God.
it now, but anyway. Oh, thank you, Carl.
I could be from the First World War, couldn't I? Just about to go to the trenches, or I'll be a pacifist, one or the other.
I got one of them. It's all right. I wear it regularly.
Oh, I got
Do,
a
do,
hat like that.
do you know what? Do you know what? I went to a farmers meeting the other day, right? And there was 30 of us in the room, right? And as you know, I got sheep. It was a lambing meeting, and we're waiting for lambs and stuff. And not a single one of the farmers had a cap like this. And I thought, oh, by the way, Anne, I'm an official farmer because I'm a Farming Connect farmer. So there we go.
Okay. All right then.
You can call me
My
a
hat's
farmer.
got a
believe
Cornish
you.
tartan.
Are you going to be riding your bicycle up as part of this sort of farmers rally?
Oh yeah. You can't
I
ride a bike, I don't think.
can't. I actually can't ride a bike. I can't ride a
Yeah.
bike.
Oh my goodness.
I've
I'll
never
get you
seen
a
you on a
tricycle.
bike, no.
I
Oh
can't-
well, anyway, or a skateboard.
I don't know about bloody skateboard, do I? You know what I mean? Um,
Anyway,
I
you
can ride a
just
horse.
looked the part. You looked the part.
Thank
No,
you.
that's good. I'm glad you agree. So,
You need a big one. That's why I'd like to buy the great big one.
Did you say your
Exactly.
father was going to hospital?
No, no, basically stuff. It's unfortunately I've had to get I've had to I've had to get the health
Pull
secretary, and
strings.
I've had to get our local MP involved to pull strings just to get an appointment for my dad to be seen. And it's just,
Oh gosh.
you know, this
Oh,
this is how bad this is.
I
And
know. It
you
needs to
can
be
only get
seen.
you can only get these things done via threats. But
Mm.
unfortunately, you know, if our local MP, if we lose our local MP, I won't have that sway anymore. But that's life. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's it. So we've
Right.
got terrible things coming. So right, okay, I'm gonna say no
See
more.
you
So
tonight.
I hopefully see you tonight. And we're gonna say goodbye now to Kate,
Yeah.
Peter, Ruth, Anne, and Richard, and the Pope. Don't forget to like and
Cheerio,
subscribe.
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye,
Bye.
love you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
So
Take care.
long.
Take care. Take
Bye.
care. Bye guys. There you go. That look at that. It looks like, you know, it's just trendy, doesn't it? Sort of going down the street. Down the street one day. Right, okay. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm just waiting to finish now. So waiting on others. That's what we were today, and obviously waiting on others and waiting on me. And I realised as I was reading through my book that there was a grammar problem in something. I thought, oh my God, that's not good. But anyway, if you want a copy of Ghosts of Glamorgan, you can get them on Etsy or eBay. Ghosts of Glamorgan 1, Ghosts of Glamorgan 2, and Romans in South Wales. And there is the book, if you're interested. That's where these stories come from. Ghosts of Glamorgan, Etsy or eBay. Ghosts of Glamorgan by Karl-James Langford. Get your copy off Etsy or eBay, not on Amazon because they charge too much. Okay, thank you very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Waiting on others, waiting on me, waiting on finish, and goodbye. Take care. Bye. Bye bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Donations welcome. And donations, if you want to make a donation, send over a donation to there. It's all ready. It's all ready to go. Send a donation to there. Thank you. Take care. Bye.